Welcome to the 31st meeting of the New Right. We've been going 5 years now, which is pretty good by anybody's standards. And for those of you who are new to the New Right, welcome. We are a non-factional, non-sectarian, non-membership intellectual forum at which any politically incorrect ideas are very much welcome. There are certain rules. We encourage constructive criticism of individuals or groups on the radical right, the nationalist circle, but we discourage negative criticism. All of us here, whether we consider ourselves radical right or nationalists or whatever, we all have more in common than we have in different between ourselves. And the idea is to get people to come together, to socialise, to network, to buy literature, to buy magazines, hear some interesting speakers, and to go away inspired to carry on the fight in whichever way they see fit. Now, our first speaker today is the authoress of 3 books. She's come all the way from Paris today. The first book she wrote was called Nietzsche, Prophet of Nazism, the Cult of the Superman. Now, this book went down like a lead balloon among the Nietzschean academics and liberal intelligentsia, purely because they had tried to rehabilitate Nietzsche over the years, the last 80 years or so. They tried to make out that Nietzsche was some sort of liberal, Marxist, dull atheist, egalitarian nobody. And of course, we know that he's not. And this reminds me of a pamphlet that was published in 1920s Germany. It was called Bolshevism. Bolshevism from Moses to Lenin. And it featured a conversation between Dietrich Eckart and a young Adolf Hitler. And in this booklet, Dietrich Eckart laments the fact that all these interpreters of Nietzsche had interpreted him in a liberal, Marxist, egalitarian way. And Adolf Hitler, a young Adolf Hitler, replies that yes, this is true, but there will still be people who will read Nietzsche as he is meant to be read. Now, her second book is unfortunately only in French at the moment. It is called Nietzsche's Coming God, or the Redemption of the Divine. And this looks at Nietzsche's ideas on spirituality and on God. The third book that she has written is called Epic of Aryan, even, thank you. In Search of the Sacred Light. And this is a sort of Thus Spake Zarathustrian look at a religion for the white race. So, without more ado, let me introduce a lady who reads Nietzsche as he is supposed to be read. I give you Abir Taha.
Fellow Aryans, comrades in the battle for supremacy. There is no freedom in the West. It's just another big lie, like democracy. If there were freedom in the West, our fellow revisionists would not be persecuted and prosecuted for questioning questionable historical facts, and we would not be meeting in secret. Everything is upside down these days. Heroes are prosecuted and put behind bars, while war criminals walk free and publish their memoirs, proudly recounting their glorious crimes. That is the sad reality of the world. The best elements of society are cast aside, and the worst rule and conquer. There is something that is very unnatural today, something fundamentally wrong with the world we live in. The natural pyramid of life has been inverted, and everything has been turned upside down, good and evil and higher and lower. We live in the darkest age, racially, morally, spiritually. But we seekers of truth and crusaders for freedom refuse this dark reality and ask ourselves how to set things straight and re-establish the aristocratic order of nature, whereby the best are also the first, and the first are also the best. The natural order has been inverted, and the way we're meeting today is a painful reminder of that. Indeed, we are supremacists. We are supposed to be at the top, yet we are meeting underground in secret. Isn't that a paradox, an aberration? From racial, cultural, and spiritual supremacy, the white race has been reduced to mere survival. What happened? How and why did we allow this inversion to take place, whereby we supremacists became survivalists? How to reverse this unnatural reality and ensure not just the existence of our race, but its domination? Those are the crucial questions facing us today. We are gathered here in this secret location because we are the white nationalist resistance, the racial, cultural, and spiritual resistance and renaissance, free spirits who refuse to live under the inquisition of the modern age, the tyranny of the politically correct. There is no more insidious and deceitful tyranny than that which is established in the name of so-called liberty and democracy. We are gathered in this underground meeting, we the proud but defeated, because we are the cultural and spiritual underground, which keeps the sacred flame of truth alive, away from the rising tide of decadence that has swept the earth, in both East and West, the tide of religious fundamentalism and atheist materialism, which I call those twin daughters of ignorance. In fact, East and West are today engaged in a so-called war on terror, or a so-called holy jihad, depending on which camp you belong to. But I say that they are essentially the same ignorance wearing different garbs and carrying different banners, namely the banner of Semitic monotheism and the banner of savage capitalism, which embody respectively the decline of both East and West. This ongoing war is not a war between Islam and the West, as the neocons and the Zionist media want us to believe, but a war between Semites, a Semitic war on a worldwide scale, a war between Muslims and Jews, Islamists on the one hand, and Jews and their Zionist Christian servants on the other. And when I say Zionist Christians, I don't mean true Christians, for true Christianity is the exact opposite of Judeo-Christianity. We are neither of those. We are white nationalists, Aryans, Indo-Europeans, sons of the pagan North, the sacred Nordic fatherland, the cradle of the Aryan race. We are not concerned by this war on terror or this holy jihad, because we represent the third way, the new right, the racial, aristocratic, and spiritual alternative to the twin scourges of religious fundamentalism and egalitarian materialism. And though we meet underground today, mark my words, we represent the future of this earth. We are the new age, the black sun of a higher cosmic consciousness that is dawning upon mankind. Truth can never die. That is why we are gathered here today, we revisionists and independent thinkers. Why has everything been inverted? Truth and power and good and evil and inferior and superior? Why are we hiding? Why are we persecuted, we the descendants of the noble Aryans, the sons of the sun, founders of religion and civilization? We racial aristocratic spiritualists, in other words, we Aryanists, had a great dream, a dream of perfection and supremacy, unlike Martin Luther King's dream of equal mediocrity, which is the current nightmare we live. Ours was a millenarian dream that I call the cult of the Superman, Nietzsche's Übermensch, the dream of reviving the perfect man, the Aryan godlike man of antiquity, best represented by the Greek gods and their ideal of physical and moral beauty. Our thinkers and philosophers had this vision of perfection, of the good, the true, and the beautiful for mankind. They wanted man to become perfect biologically, culturally, and spiritually, a god in the making. But today we are struggling for mere survival in order to preserve our race, culture, and religion, so as not to become strangers in our own lands. Why is that? How and why did we allow that? Only by asking these questions will we shift from mere survival to supremacy. We can blame our enemies, and they are mostly to blame, of course, for hijacking power, distorting truth, and defiling the natural and divine orders. But we should also blame ourselves, for part of our plight today is the result of our own negligence, divisions, and shortcomings. What then is to be done in order to regain supremacy? The path to supremacy lies in the following racial commandments. First, race is above nation. Second, race is spirit. And third, spirit is supreme. Luckily, there is hope and there are solutions. First of all, revisionism should be philosophical, religious, cultural, and spiritual, not just historical. We mainly focus on historical revisionism. We should expand our search for truth to all fields of life in order to re-establish the racial aristocratic spiritual paradigm of mankind's golden age. Our enemies, the enemies of life, are distorting not just facts, but the eternal word of our thinkers and philosophers. My book, Nietzsche, Prophet of Nazism, The Cult of the Superman, was a solitary but successful attempt at rehabilitating Nietzsche as a life-affirming, pagan, aristocratic Aryanist, after decades of distortion and falsification by pseudo-Nietzschean scholars who have turned this great German philosopher into a liberal, egalitarian nihilist. We must do more to reinterpret philosophers and political thinkers as they are, not as the enemies of truth and of mankind want them to be. Sadly, they have succeeded and are succeeding in distorting, misinterpreting, and appropriating religion, philosophy, spirituality, thereby taking our very souls away from us. For thought and faith are the soul of the race. And thereby turning whites who are not racially aware into victims of political correctness, not just in politics, but also, and more disturbingly so, in religion and philosophy. Secondly, we should be true to ourselves, to our own racial and spiritual beliefs. Indeed, we claim to be white nationalists. We claim to uphold the slogan, "My race is my nation." Yet in truth, we did not and still do not apply in our daily thinking, behavior, and actions the transnational theory of race, which has little to do with language, nationality, or geography. Race is above nation. We seem to forget that in our daily thinking, and thus we remain racial brothers divided and separated by national and linguistic barriers. Hitler started a racial revolution, whereby race, not nation, would be the conquering and uniting concept for all the Aryans of the world. His dream was to form a greater Reich, a holy Aryan empire extending from Norway to Iran and even to Tibet, wherever the Aryans set foot and blessed the earth with the light of wisdom and truth. That is what Hitler desired, but that ideal could not be implemented on the ground because the Second World War was a war between nations, not between races. That is how Aryan brothers became enemies and slaughtered each other under different flags and uniform. That is how London, Liverpool, Berlin, and Dresden were bombed, with hundreds of thousands of victims on both sides. Aryan blood was shed on both camps in the name of nations instead of Hitler's ideal of Aryan unity and supremacy. The racial revolution never took place, and we Aryans remain divided and oblivious to our common roots. We have not learned from our mistakes. Most of us remain nationalists, not white nationalists, and thus we erect barriers between us and our brothers in race in other nations, from Iceland to Afghanistan, Aryan racial types that I call the sons of the lost North and the hidden East. Racialists and race experts know that race has little to do with nationality and language. And as I write in my book, The Epic of Arya, In Search of the Sacred Light, which I call the Aryan Bible, I write, "The river of blood flows over the bridges of nations." In my book, Arya, the human goddess of light, the conscience of the Aryan race, has a dream and a longing. She tells her people, those who bear her name, "I look at your maps, my beloved children, and all I see, from Ariana to Hyperborea, is one holy empire torn asunder, at war with itself and denying itself. All I see are shifting borders and sham cultures, brothers who have become strangers, separated by arbitrary fences, raised apart, pitted against each other, fighting amongst themselves, and dying for the sake of alien God and strange creeds. All I see is discord where there should be harmony, and adversity where there should be comradeship, and enmity where there should be unity. All I see is division and hatred among the branches of Yggdrasil, the holy tree which bestowed this earth with the hallowed fruit of creation." Unquote. That is my dream of Aryan unity. The only barriers should be racial, not national barriers, for race alone is our true identity. Thirdly, we should understand that breeding is both biological and spiritual, for race is both biology and spirit. Thus, eugenics also has a spiritual dimension. In the Epic of Arya, I talk about the spiritual and universal dimension of race, beyond geography, language, and even beyond mere biology. I write, your people are not those who speak your language, for language is easily learned and forgotten, while the blood never betrays, and the spirit never varies. Race lies not in language, but in the blood, and the blood never lies. But blood is tied not only to flesh, but to spirit. Noble blood runs not just in the veins, but also in the soul. And when inner and outer beauty meet, a god is born. End of quote. Race is a meta-biological or biomystical concept, which means it is the soul which molds the body, not vice versa, as biological determinists affirm. And God knows they have been proven wrong, given the widespread racial mixture that is now occurring in the world. It is the spirit, the soul of the race, which keeps it alive. And racial mixture occurs when that spirit dies, not vice versa. Rosenberg, the philosopher of the Third Reich, said that the soul was primary, even if biology, and especially the cephalic index, is essential. Houston Stewart Chamberlain, whose racial views were wholly adopted by the National Socialists, asserted that, quote, Germanism does not lie in the blood, but in the mind. Whoever reveals himself German by his acts, whatever be his genealogical tree, is a German, unquote. Chamberlain advocated mental, spiritual, and intellectual Aryanism, transcending mere biological Aryanism. It is the soul which shapes the body, thus it is the spirit of the race which should be preserved if the race is to survive. Racial mixture, or rather racial suicide, is just a consequence of spiritual decay. It is the body of the race which is dying after the spirit has left it. If we don't understand this, we will never be able to stop our daughters and our sisters from mixing with other races. Race is spirit first and foremost. In the Epic of Arya I write, a race is the spiritual brotherhood of blood and honor. It is defined by the dream that it shares, the truth that it reveres and fights for, the God that it venerates. The beauty of form remains an empty shell if it does not transpire in the greatness of the spirit. It is the spirit of the race which preserves its purity. But what preserves the spirit? Religion, faith, an Aryan religion. That is the fourth and most important thing we need in order to move from survival to supremacy. For as I say, the people's soul resides in their faith, and most men lost their soul when they lost their faith. My race, unquote, my race is my nation. My race is my religion. Only by reviving and preserving our religion will we be able to preserve our race and ensure its domination. Religion in its original meaning, from the Latin religere, to link, to unite, was meant to link men with the gods, to make gods out of men, unlike religions today which, as I say in my book, drive man away from God, not closer to him. The original Aryan pagan religion, what the Germans called the Naturreligion, the religion of nature, was venerated by the ancient Germanic peoples and spread all over the earth, from Scandinavia to India, and even to Tibet, laying the foundations of the greatest religion the world has ever known. The striking similarities between the Eddas and the Vedas show this unity of the Indo-Germanic religion, which is now, alas, venerated and practiced mostly by non-whites, whereas the whites follow an Aryan religion, which is the opposite of Christ's original message and Aryan ideal of the God-man. The Odyssey of the gods on earth, that is Aryanism, the divine spirit cloaked in human form throughout history, whether in religion or philosophy, whether in art, literature or poetry, whether in architecture or in science. Man's longing for a lost divinity, that is the true spirit of Aryanism and the Aryan religion. All great civilizations, India, Iran, Sumer, Greece, Rome, Germany, to name but a few, are the products of the Aryan, products of the magnificent Aryan genius and superior intellect, which strove to become one with God, to to recreate the God-man in order to recapture man's lost unity with the divine. That is the highest purpose, the dream of Aryanism. The God-man, Nietzsche's Übermensch. We should regain our Aryan spiritual heritage, our millenarian Indo-Germanic faith, the body and light that shone above the whole earth since time immemorial. Our God is not the God of the Old Testament. So, as Arya says, let this God from the desert stay away from us truly chosen ones, we who have chosen Pan over Yahweh. We should reclaim the Aryan religions that we gave to the world, from Hinduism to Wotanism to Zoroastrianism to Orphism and Mithraism, to name but a few. We should reclaim true Christianity after it was hijacked and distorted by the falsifiers of history. The Arabs have their own religion. The Jews have their own religion. To move from survival to supremacy, we whites need our own religion. What Nietzsche called a conquering thought for a master race, an Aryan religion that will conquer the world with the spirit, not the sword, as three religions do. That conquering thought, that religion is rooted in the Aryan psyche and collective unconscious, as Carl Jung said, and needs to be revived and expressed in a new, unified form. We need to revive Aryan paganism and its ideal of the God-man, the God in the making, in body and spirit. That is the Aryan dream which should become reality. That is the new age which should and shall replace the present age, the darkest age. Now, what are the tenets of this Aryan religion, which has taken on different forms whilst maintaining the same spirit and beliefs? In my Aryan Bible, I write about one Unitarian Aryan religion that contains the fundamental tenets of the various Indo-European religions. The tenets are the following. First, the Aryan religion believes in the unity between God and the universe. Life is the highest manifestation of God, and nature is its abode. This pantheism starkly contrasts with the transcendental God of Semitic monotheism, which separates between God and nature and God and man. Secondly, Aryan religiosity believes in the unity between God and man, the God-man being the highest manifestation of the divine on earth, whereas Semitic religiosity believes in the original sin and the fall of man. Aryan religiosity is an ascension from man to God, an eternal self-overcoming towards perfection, whereas Semitic religiosity is an eternal decline and fall. Thirdly, we Aryans believe in the inner God, or inner Christ. We believe that the divine lies in our souls, whereby the Semites believe in the distant, unreachable God. We are the sons of God, they are his servants, the slaves of a merciless tyrant above the clouds. Fourthly, we believe in the unity between man and nature, the ancient pagan Germanic Naturreligion, whereas the Semitic religions despise and defile nature, and slaughter and mistreat its creatures. Fifth, the Aryan religion is life-affirming, a holistic and immanentist religion, religion of life, whereas the Semitic religions are life-denying, an escape from earthly existence into an indefinable beyond. Six, we are polytheists, but we believe that the various gods are the manifestations of one God, the expression of nature's forces and archetypes, whereas monotheism separates God from his own creation. Finally, the Aryan religion is imbued with spirituality, which is the freedom of thought of higher souls, whereas Semitic religions are tyrannical commandments of wrath and fear, and of reward and punishment. Spirituality is the opposite of religious fundamentalism, and spirituality is essentially Indo-European. The New Age movement, which is currently winning the hearts and minds of the West, is imbued with Aryan spirituality, from Hinduism to Buddhism to Greek and Germanic mythology. Paradoxically, Aryan spirituality is conquering the world, whereas the Aryan race is in decline. We need to have our own religion, a religion that we should pass down to our children, so that they be born Aryans, not just racially, but religiously, by ascription, like any other religion, since the newborn are the Lebensborn, the fountain of life, the future life of the race. Fellow free spirits, we have three Aryan religious duties: to reappropriate Krishna, to reappropriate the Aryan Christ, and to reappropriate the eternally present Zarathustra, alias Nietzsche. A new cosmic consciousness is emerging. The new age will be spiritual and hence Aryan. We represent the future of mankind. The time has come for truth to rise from the underground and shine again upon the world. This is our morning, our day is dawning. To speak in less figurative and more earthly language, I have 5 prophecies for you, my comrades. First, the racial disintegration of the United States. Second, the rise of a Russian Orthodox Tsarist who will claim back Jerusalem as Christian land. Third, Europe will no longer be the Europe we now know. Let the Eurocrats in Brussels do the donkey work. Europe shall be ours. Fourth, Israel will be wiped off the map. This is a prediction, not wishful thinking. And international Zionism will wither away for good. Finally, the prophet of the new religion will emerge. He will be, as Nietzsche said, a Caesar with the soul of Christ. These 5 upcoming events will reshape the world. A new world is on the rise. Let the Aryan religion be its soul. Arya says, once true God lies in one's blood. So let us revive our Aryan religion to reconquer the world.